Rush to Reason, Denver's Afternoon Rush, KLZ 560. Happy Hump Day, by the way, everybody. It is Wednesday. Lindsey Singer joining us now, Colorado Rising Action. Lindsey, how are you today?
I'm doing good. We have, I think, 83 days till Election Day.
It's winding down, isn't it?
Why? Yeah.
It
couldn't be busier.
Yeah, and, of course, we got news yesterday from the Biden campaign about the VP pick. So, yeah, lots going on in this particular neck of the woods, and it's going to be this way now till November.
Absolutely. And speaking of his VP pick, it's interesting that Hickenlooper hasn't been asked, here in Colorado, more locally, hasn't been asked to respond to any of Harris or Biden's positions on, I don't know, energy, fracking, something that
why is that?
A lot about.
Yeah, what's going on there, Lindsey?
Why hasn't he been asked about it? I can't make excuses for the Colorado media, but I hope that he is, and we're pushing for it because these are important things. Colorado, Hickenlooper's been both ways on fracking specifically. He switched his position lately to be more on the left.
He drank the stuff at one point. I remember a press conference way back when where he drank it, Lindsey.
Exactly. I mean, he's been a big friend. We in Colorado know he's been a big friend to oil and gas, but he's completely switched his position, and it'll be interesting. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why he's afraid to go to some of these debates, especially on the Western slope, because he can't answer the questions about energy, about one of Colorado's major economic industries. And so he just, hangs out in his home.
I think you're correct on that. And the news media here in Colorado, shame on you, by the way, for everybody that some of you may or may not be listening, but shame on you for not asking the tough questions. That's supposed to be your job. At least I thought, Lindsey, that was their job, was to ask those tough questions and vet these individuals and find out where they really stood on the issues at hand. And they're not doing that right now. In fact, right now, all they're doing is keeping a state shut down when we've got COVID numbers so low right now. You wonder if it even exists.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, hopefully there'll be more on this, maybe when we hit September, when people start paying attention a little bit more. But Hickenlooper didn't agree to any debates in September. Cory Gardner said, I think there's 3 debates in September that he agreed to do, and Hickenlooper didn't agree to any of those. So he's waiting till October. He'll just hang out and let the big D.C. money be spent for him and, not have to answer any of these tough questions.
And we're already seeing the ads, they're pouring out on television and radio, and granted some of them are for Cory Gardner, but there's a lot of them out there, PACs included, that are against him. And by the way, some of these are just almost flat out and out lies. It's about as untruthful as you can get in some of these ads that are attacking Cory Gardner. And a lot of them really come down to saying nothing more than he supported Donald Trump, so now he's a bad guy. Right.
I mean, a lot of things you can say about Cory Gardner, but he is the hardest worker of anyone I've ever seen in Congress. They don't get anything done there, but Cory Gardner has gotten so much done comparatively. He's gotten more done. He's gotten more bills signed under both Obama and Trump than the entire rest of the Colorado delegation combined. So at least he's doing something,
Well, and whether you want to agree with us or not, when it comes to spending money, this is an area where I don't have any trouble spending money. We spend money on everything else under the sun in this country. We just got the national parks, sort of that reclamation bill passed, and that was a big deal that Cory was involved in. That helps out Colorado. We've got national parks here, and that will actually help us here as a state in many ways, and also got Space Force here as well. So, Lindsey, those are things that we can credit to him, and, no one else on the Democrat side has done that.
Yeah, definitely. All those things come with jobs. The Great American Outdoors Act that you mentioned helps our outdoors economy, which is huge and getting bigger with more people wanting to spend time outside because we can't go to bars and restaurants. So that's only going to help Coloradans, and it brings jobs here too. So if you don't like, the money being spent on that, there are areas where it's definitely going to help our economy, and I'm really thankful for Cory Gardner for doing that.
Well, and I said this the other day when we were actually interviewing some folks from the White House and Interior Secretary and so on. We actually did some interviews. And, the one thing that we all forget, too, Lindsey, is, number one, those are our national assets. I know there are parks. I get that. But there are assets. It's like taking care of your car. If you just let your car get run down to the point that there's nothing left of it and you can't hardly drive it anymore, then it just goes to the scrap heap and it has no value. On the same token, if you take care of it, you keep it up, you keep it running well and so on, well, now it actually is an asset. And you know what? Our national parks and the things that we own as a country are very much that same way. And if we don't take care of them, which, by the way, we haven't in about 40 years, that's the last time we had any kind of big money being spent on them. And you know, let's just say this. We are so far overdue when it comes to that end of things. I'm glad Corey got that put through.
Yeah, it's really interesting watching some of the press on this. You know, these are some of the talking points, and the Land and Water Conservation Fund. These are things that the Democrats have been saying they want to do something about for decades. But it's just a campaign talking point for them.
They didn't
actually put in the work to
That's
get
right.
it done.
They never did.
President Obama didn't sign this bill.
That's right. I mean, you go look at all of the national monuments and parks and things that we have, Lindsey, and in a lot of cases, it's embarrassing to even bring somebody from another country here and look at what we've got there in the disrepair that some of them are, the infrastructure needs in some of our parks and so on. It's ridiculous as a country that we can spend all the money that we do in certain areas, but we can't keep some of our biggest national treasures going well.
Yeah. I agree with you.
That's my point. Okay, so Space Force, same deal. It's also going to bring jobs to Colorado. This is another big deal for us in Colorado when it comes to something that was put through by Cory Gardner. And I just hope that we on our side are pushing the narrative along those lines through enough so that we're actually giving credit where credit's due. And those are things Cory did, Hickenlooper didn't do.
Yeah, they only happened because Cory Gardner put in the effort and because of his relationship with President Trump. You know, there are some conservatives who don't feel like he's conservative enough, but his relationship with Donald Trump and the fact that they agree on so much is the only reason that a lot of this stuff is getting actually put into law. I
just want stuff done, Lindsey. That's what I want. I think that's really the bottom line, is watching what's actually been done recently by him and his team. Then, you know, you got to give credit where credit is due. And on the same token, you've got to look at Hickenlooper, back to your point. When there's no interviews going on, he's not debating, he's not explaining his position on things that really affect Colorado on a day-to-day basis. You know what, folks listening? You better be paying attention to that, because let me tell you what, if he's not saying now where he stands on things, just wait till he becomes senator.
Yeah, I think Coloradans are kind of used to Hickenlooper just staying out of it. You know, he wasn't a very active governor when it came to legislation. He just, you know, shows up and says some talking points, and so a lot of times he puts his foot in his mouth.
Yep.
But what we really need is to hear from him in debates, and he seems to not want to do that for us.
No, I agree. So when it comes to other things happening